Hey everybody, how's it going? Well, if history is any indicator, this is a video that's going to get its fair share of nasty comments, but that's okay. I'm preparing for it, and it's just how it is. Leave them if you want to. It makes you feel better, go right ahead. But I'm also hoping that this video will generate some actual useful discussion without nasty comments, but we'll see. And also, please pay no mind to the talking in the background. The neighbors are out watching the ball game and drinking and smoking cigarettes, so can't do anything about that. Can't do anything about the sirens. So I was out detailing my car today, and it occurred to me that I wanted to make a video to show how much more successful that the Japanese automakers, which is namely Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, have been at making luxury cars, and as a matter of fact, any kind of car. Over the past 15 or 20 years, have been reliable and have held up well, and have been just a pleasure to own. Now, since this is a 2000 Infiniti Q45, it's an anniversary edition, which was a limited production model. It's basically the same as the 2001 Touring Edition. But this is a V8 powered rear-wheel drive Japanese car. It's produced by Nissan. In the Japanese domestic market, it was a Nissan called a CIMA, and they kind of badge engineered it into an Infiniti. But that said, this is going to be even more revealing as we go on through this video. But since this car is classified as a luxury car, I thought I would compare and contrast this to cars made in Germany, which is like BMW and mercedes-benz, and those made in Sweden, which is namely our old nemesis, the Volvo. And we're just going to kind of talk about this and look at this car as an example. And also, I want this video to serve to warn off people who may be considering buying an older, and by older I mean at least 10 to 15 year old European car, because they're cheap, they don't hold the resale value, they're everywhere on Craigslist, and I'll just tell you right now, don't do it. Don't do it. So anyway, this car, this example, like I said, this is a 2000 Q45. It's got about 190,000 miles on it. I bought it used from a dealership. I bought it pretty cheap. It was $3,000, which is pretty reasonable, I think. Had 168 or 69,000 miles on it when I bought it back in 1st of March, late February, somewhere there. So I've put 20,000 hard miles on it. I drive a lot for work. I use this car as my daily driver, and this is the second one of these I've had. I've had a 98 before this, which is almost exactly like this, just did not have all the features that this one has. So anyway, one thing I like to do, since I'm a car fan, and I've owned a lot of different cars, still own a lot of different cars, but since I'm a car aficionado, one thing I like to do is I like to research different cars and see what kind of issues people have had with them, and it kind of educates you if you'll do that. It kind of educates you to know which ones to stay away from. And so when I bought this car, and actually when I bought the one before it, I saw the car, the 98 for sale, and I'd done research on it and read what people had to say about their problems with them, and it was pretty evident that these are pretty trouble-free cars, and that's been the case with me as well. The only things I've had to do to this car, put a set of tires on it, put belts on it, I put a fuel pressure regulator on it, and that's it. The other one I had to do a tune-up on. I had to put back brakes on it, and put belts on it, and a radiator, and it had more miles on it than this one did. It had about 220,000 miles at that point. So otherwise, it's not been anything, you know, obviously that's not been anything except mainly wear items. So nothing's broken, nothing's failed, it's never stranded me, it's never quit running. Neither of them have. Both of them have had some problems with the starter being a little bit reluctant. Sometimes it takes a few tries to click, click, click before it'll turn over and start, but that seems to be a thing you see a lot on Japanese cars. I had it happen on a Honda at least once. But otherwise, this has been a great car, and the one before it was a great car. The other one before it was, like I said, it was a great car also. It used a little oil for whatever reason. This one does not use any oil, does not leak any oil, does not leak any fluids, does not use any fluids. So when you go through these like for car surveys, carsurvey.org I think it may be, and then there's car complaints, and if you just do some basic searching on the internet, you'll see a lot of horror stories about Mercedes-Benz and BMW and Volkswagen and Audi and Volvo, and it just never stops on those things. So what I'm going to tell you is not conjecture, and it's not something I've just made up, and it's not something that I just thought up. There's proof, there's facts. I know some people may not like facts, but there are facts about this. So this car sold new for $52,000, and I think for example, if you're going to look at probably the most comparable Mercedes of that year, it would be a S430, which sold for $70,000, so about $20,000 more than this one did. And BMW is something comparable, probably a 740. Really probably between a 540 and a 740, which both would be V8 powered sedans. And you know, it's been disappointing for people that own those cars, that they've got charged so much for them to purchase them new, and yet they struggle to get them past 130, 140, 150,000 miles before something disastrous could happen to it. And I have to ask, you know, you guys that love those cars, the European car fans, and those of you who live in Europe, then I'd like to understand, maybe you can tell me so I understand, how has it happened that Infiniti and Nissan and Toyota, even though they've been building luxury sedans a lot less time than Mercedes-Benz and BMW and Audi and Volvo, how is it that they've managed to be so successful and have such reliable vehicles in such a short amount of time when Mercedes-Benz, BMW, etc., can't seem to do that? Let's start up front with the engine on this car. We'll crack the hood open, the bonnet open. We'll talk about mechanical stuff first. You notice the hood pops right up on this. No Volvo sticking hood on this car. A Volvo will do a lot of mean shit to you. So this is a 4.1 liter 24 valve V8 engine. It's timing chain driven. It's got coil unplug ignition. It's pretty packed in there, it looks like, but actually it's pretty easy to work on. The good thing about it is it never needs worked on. Like I said, I put a fuel pressure regulator on it, which didn't make it quit or anything. It just was not starting as easy as it should have, and that was $54 for a fuel pressure regulator. And you know, the thing is, people get scared of these cars. They think, oh, it's so expensive to work on these and all that. But anything I've ever needed on these cars, I've been able to find at the junkyard. I had to put a strut on this car. You talk about a dog's got mental problems. There he goes. Simon, 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 Simon. So anyways, I was saying, sorry about that. People think that, you know, these are hard to work on and stuff. I had to put a strut on it, as I was saying, and I bought that at the junkyard for $25. So when you start looking into the repair problems on a lot of these Mercedes and BMWs, especially at this age, if you're going to consider one for a used car, one thing you need to Google right away is you need to Google Mercedes timing chain problems and BMW timing chain problems, and Mercedes head gaskets and BMW's head gaskets, and you will find a treasure trove of information about how things can fail on those. Infiniti, Nissan, actually, this is a VH series engine, and they had a problem with their timing chains for about the first 2 years of production. When this car came out, 1990, 91, 92, they actually did have that problem. Same thing with the tensioners and the chain. They tried to use plastic guides, and anybody that makes engines by now ought to know that that doesn't work. But it took them just 2 years to rectify that and put all metal parts on it. Problem solved. So do that if you're thinking about that. There's a lot of those BMW and Mercedes V8s that have had those problems. They've had problems with there's some sort of a solenoid or something that's down in under the valve cover. And let me tell you something, putting a timing chain on a 24 valve V8, that's not a cheap proposition either, even if you do it yourself. And they've been known to blow head gaskets. So, and one of them, I think it's a BMW that's in like the X5, and that's a 4.4 liter V8 engine, and that's also used in the sedans. But that SOB has got some sort of a coolant pipe or something buried up under the intake that fails, and that thing, you have to dig the whole top end of the engine off there to get to that thing, just for that little tiny ass damn pipe down there. I don't know if it's a joint in it or the pipe cracks or whatever. So that's something to be aware of. These cars have never had head gasket problems, and aside from the first 2 years, they've never had timing chain problems. You won't have those problems with these cars. They run forever. They don't require extensive maintenance. They're easy to maintain. They're just an excellent engine. That goes for this engine, and it goes for the Toyota UR series V8s that are in like the trucks and the LS400s and 430s and stuff like that. So that's one big reason to stay away from some German V8 powered car. You don't know what that son of a gun is going to do. Now also, let's talk about the engine control system. One thing that the Europeans have been very fond of doing over the past decade and a half is they have developed proprietary diagnostic software for their cars. Now, what the reasoning is behind that, I'm sure somebody's going to pop up and explain it so it sounds good for them. But what it means for you, the car buyer, means that instead of coming in under here with a normal scan tool, which you can on this car, and plugging it into the port under here, which is up under the dashboard, and reading all the codes out of it if it's got a check engine light on, you can't do that on one of those. And that consists of Volvo, BMW, Audi, VW, and Mercedes, if I didn't say Mercedes. Anyway, anything that comes off the European continent, you're probably going to run into that shit. And so that means if you own one of those things, you buy one and it's got a service light comes on, it's got one of those exclamation points that come on, you know, anything like that, that means you can't just trot down to AutoZone and get them to pull the code for you and you know what it means. Nope, no sir, no way, no how. And they've got names for them. I don't know what the BMW and Mercedes versions are, but I know I think the VW Audi is called VAGCOM or something like that, and then Volvo's got Vetus, which I like to call Darth Vetus, and Vita. See, it sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds real good. It sounds pleasant. Doesn't it sound pleasant? Like you just plug it into Vita, plug it into Vetus, and it'll tell you what's wrong with it. Not that damn easy. You have to take it somewhere that has that software, or if you, the consumer, the poor guy that works at the auto parts place, if you want to buy the hellaciously expensive software, the actual software, you can do that. So that's one thing you run into with those cars. If you're going to try to diagnose problems with them, you can't do most of it in your driveway, and that's intentional. So that's another way those things will dick you over. Now this car, $52,000 for this car, and it's got a security system and an immobilizer and all that shit, and I can plug my scan tool right into it and diagnose everything that the scan tool is capable of. And I can also use my, which you saw in another video, my Torque Pro app to bring up all the diagnostic stuff, like all the, it can do a self-test, it can show me live data, etc, etc, etc. Need I say more? So you know, I had a Volvo once upon a time I made a video about, which has gotten a lot of hate comments, but that's too bad. I could care less, really. But anyway, that car had a security problem with it. The immobilizer was corrupted, or the computer was corrupted, or something was really off on it. And it clearly was not something that could be fixed here at this house. So it was going to have to be taken to a capable service facility to find out what actually was wrong with it. But anyway, I got a lot of hate comments on that video, and I kept trying to tell people it was the immobilizer was shutting it down, and nobody wanted to believe that. So that's something you'll run into with those cars periodically. I've heard crazy ass things about, well, put the key in the ignition or the door lock and turn it left, turn it right 5 times, walk around it, come back to it on another day, and maybe it'll start. I don't care what you guys say. You can be as hateful as you want to. That shit has happened to people. There's been people who have posted all over the internet, said with these Volvos especially, they'll say, well, I turn it to start and it doesn't start. And it comes up with a thing on the dash that says security fault. Now what do? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I come out of my house every day and I get in this car and I turn the key and it starts and I drive away to work or wherever I'm going. I do that day after day after day after day after day after day. No security faults, no turning the key back and forth, no having to hook up some special ass damn program to it to find out what's really wrong with it. None of that. And you have to understand something. When you have to do things like that, that costs you money. So that's why when you see cars like that, Mercedes and BMW, etc., Volvo especially, when you see them on Craigslist cheap, there's a reason. That's why you don't want one. Even if it looks good, it's like a woman, it's like a psycho woman. They look good and they talk a good game right at the first, but you get involved with one of them and you'll regret it for a long time, trust me. On Craigslist right now, there's a 2001 Volvo V70 wagon. It's a T5, which is a little bit higher performance edition of that car. It needs suspension work and some other things, but it's running $900 for that thing, and it's got 125,000 miles on it. That's 65,000 miles less than this car has on it, and it's going that cheap. That should tell you something. The only thing you could do worse than that is buy a Land Rover or a Range Rover, a newer one. So anyway, let me start my video again. I'm running out of my segment, and we'll talk some more.